What's going on, guys? That's right. It's just me today. I'm very. Well, let me give you something. Some hand sanitizer. This is what I had next to me. But no, there is no cute face of Sean. There's no special guest. You might be wondering to yourself, you can do a starting pitching all by yourself? Where's the crew? Don't worry about it. Actually, you're not worried about it. You saw the title of this video. Here it is, the first kind of episode. Might be the only episode of the Just Miss, something Leif, your coach, kind of joked about last episode. It's kind of come to fruition. I thought about it, especially for starting pitching. This makes sense. We know that I might have 10 to 15 extra guys when we talk about positional players that we only rank the 10 of. We're doing top 15 starting pitching. That's going to come out on Monday. And listen, there's probably 30 good starting pitchers, and I rank 23 of them. And I probably have little blurbs about 10 extras. It might be 33 names. I can't sit there for a half hour before we start getting into the top 15. I can't do that to the pod. Some people might like it, some people might not. Like I said, for position players, it could be a fun 10-minute waste of your time. I don't mind that. Pitchers, it's a new ball game. So this is an extra bit of content for anyone who is interested. That means when we do the starting pitcher, I'll comment on some of these guys if they make someone else's list, but I am not talking about them on that. This is solely here, this exclusive content. So let's get into it. Before I start, the only thing I'll say is, if you know who this guy is, comment down below. Okay? Don't cheat, though. If you know who he is, comment down below. I may or may not give you a discount on a hat. I haven't decided yet. You'll hear about that on the next podcast. Let's get into it with the blurbs, right? These aren't even ranked people. Not that I should say that, because the first guy I'm going to talk about is Christopher Sale. I just couldn't even come up with projections, and if I can't project for you, I can't rank you. Chris Sale is someone who's on my fantasy team as of today. I'm making this video, and I finished my projections today. He just broke his ribs. I mean, this guy is really gone through the ringy. Basically, what I said about him is even with his reduced strikeout rate, he could certainly end up being on this list next year, or be worth being on this list by the end of the year, be a top 15 pitcher this year. I can project like a 3.4 ERA, but after the rib cage now, like I said, it's not enough data post-injury. It's just too murky. Last year, again, a very, very small sample size, his K rate was back down to 28. His walk rate stayed stable. Again, very small sample size last year, but enough. I mean, 9 games, 42 innings pitched. His strikeout rate went from 35 to 28. I mean, that's a pretty big jump. Expected ERA basically only went from like 350 to 340, which I don't mind. But before that, obviously, his expected ERAs, 2019 and 2018 priors, we're sitting 2.6, 2.5. This guy was an absolute monster. I don't think he's that anymore. But I think if he could get somewhere around a 3.3, get that strikeout rate back up to 30. I mean, 28 is still decently elite for strikeout rate. It's just he was like, top 2 or 3 in the league at 35 plus. So it's a lot. This is why we didn't do this in one video. Next guy I'll talk about is Luis Castillo. How could you even go about projecting Luis Castillo? I tried. I thought he was going to make my top 15, possibly even. Huge going into last season on Luis Castillo. Mike Johnson has him. In the Fantrax league. I was trying to trade for him. And then even at a certain point, I couldn't trade for him because, man, he struggle bust, huh? In April and May. Awful. And he's traditionally been a slow starter, which I guess is comforting, but that also means it could happen again. And if I'm a team, remember, I'm thinking like not fantasy technically. I'm thinking if I'm a team, who do I want on the mound for me? All encompassing. Man, I don't know. I just don't know what to project. Do I have to project 2 months like that and then give you his final year stats? It's too much for me, too murky. The guy could end up having a 2.7 ERA or a 4.4. But I do think he's a good pitcher. Frankie Montas, someone who's not going to make my list or my rankings. He had a really great second half. but there's just something about him I don't like. Couldn't tell you what it is. I just don't like something about Frankie Montas. Also, he took drugs, and the entire second half. Uh, these are two separate things. He took drugs. Next statement. The entire second half was based off of him throwing one pitch, his splitter. He threw it almost 40% of the time in the second half. And let me tell you, as he should, it was one of the best pitches. Um, him and Otani's splitter seemed to really like pop off pretty much in around the same time frame. Both really filthy pitches, but relying on a splitter 40% of the time, I don't know. I guess people throw fastballs 50% of the time, right? Rely on that. I just don't know how sustainable it is. I need to see more. The second half of last year was kind of the only time he did well. He finished still like a 3-4. I need to see it for a full year for him to get contention for me. Moving on to Alek Manoah. Kid's a stud. If he can get his walk rate down and show that he could build up to the point where he can do it over a full season, he will be on this list next year, no doubt. The metrics back up how good he was last year. Thank you. But the walk rate was just way too high for me. He also, I don't think he's going to be able to get a lot of innings this year. I think he only pitched 110, and combined with minor leagues, maybe 120. So you know me how I do it. I always pretty much assume no injury, but I can't for pitchers. I know innings limits are a thing. So like for someone like Manoah, who's only ever pitched 120, I can't project him to pitch more than 150, 160. Teams just wouldn't let them do it. It's not so much of a player getting hurt like Sevy, a guy who we'll hear about later, actually. I predict him to have 165. He hasn't pitched in a while. Otani, 150 for obvious reasons. Clevenger, another guy on my roster, just like Otani, 165. That's just how it kind of is, unfortunately. Even a guy like DeGrom, I'm only going to project like 180 innings worth of because of not injuries that are going to happen, but injuries that have already happened. That's what I'll take into account. Anyway, going off of Manoah, yeah, his walk rate was almost 9 last year, 43rd percentile, but everything else looks pretty filthy. So if he can get that down and build up his pitch count and in innings to like 150 this year, by next year he'll be ready to go to 180 and be filthy. Moving on to Kevin Gausman. Sorry, folks. I think 2020 is fair. He had like a 3.45, like a 3.4, 3.5. I just don't buy 2021 yet. I do like him though. He's not one of these guys I don't like. I like him. I don't buy the 2021. I think that's too much where he's like, what is he, sub 3, 2021, something like that. Basically, his expected ERA was the same for 2020 and 2021. And his expected ERA for 2020 was 3.53. His actual 3.62. For 2021, 3.52. Actual 2.81. I think he's going to bounce a little bit back to like a 3.40 type pitcher, which is perfectly fine and okay. I think even being a 1 with the stuff that he has. I mean, he is close to a 30% strikeout rate with only a 6.5% walk rate. So you can still be elite with that kind of ERA, and probably could have ranked him. He probably would have been like high teens to low 20s. Could have been close, but I don't think with an ERA projected, I have him probably closer to 3.5 that I was going to rank him. I need to see him be sub 3 again for me to even consider it. To have enough of a deviation from his SIERA, which was his SIERA was still like 380. So enough of that though. Musgrove is okay, but not elite. So let's calm down. He's basically a less efficient Tyler Mahle, who you're looking at right now, if you haven't guessed it yet. I mean, he's all right. Musgrove is okay, but again, he's not efficient at all. His K to walk rate's garbage. And he's okay. It's like probably like a 3.5, 3.6 guy, maybe. Another guy I'm not high on. People need to hop off the Jack Flaherty train. He's never been good. He never will be good. And Leif was really high on him and might still be. I don't know. But that adds to my dislike for him for sure. I am not a fan of Jack Flaherty. He had one like half good season. People got all crazy. People got all Bucky. I feel like none of the expected stats show that he's good. I don't know how it's been allowed, this slander that he's like an ace. Like you look at some rankings, he's like top 15 even coming into this year. His expected ERA last 2 seasons is 4.89 and 5. He had one season, 3.26 expected ERA. That's okay. That's not bad. He had a 2.75 ERA. First off, he's more of a 3.3 guy because his Sierra didn't even match up with the xERA. If you're confused on what that means, the easiest way I can explain it to you is expected ERA is more so what your ERA should have been that year, and Sierra is kind of a better predictor of what it should be next year, in a sense, because Sierra takes into account the types of batted balls you hit. An expected ERA is kind of how hard you were hit. Again, if that makes any sense. You can look up the definitions on your own. It's Sierra's skill independent ERA. Regardless, I just don't think Jack Flaherty is a good pitcher. He's probably maybe a low end 2, high 3. Listen, I'm sure he'll win fucking Cy Young this year. I'm off the Jack Flaherty train, not that I've ever been on it. Trevor Rogers. Trevor Rogers and Dylan Cease. I'm gonna punch these guys together. If they can get the walk rate down, the both of them, and add another solid year, they can make their way onto this list next year. Although I think Cease is has a lot more volatile like upside and downside. I think Cease could like fuck around and win a Cy Young, like be the best pitcher in the AL. Also could be the worst pitcher in the AL very easily. I think Rogers will pretty much be a solid 2 his whole career, with the low side being a really high 3, high side being a low 1, if that makes sense. I think Cease could be a 4 or 5 all day. He could end up being an ace. I like Trevor Rogers. Just to get an idea, I'm looking up now what their walk rates were. You'd wish I could write some of this stuff down beforehand so I wouldn't have to waste your time. But it is what it is. Rogers' walk rate was 8.4%. His strikeout percentage was 28.5, though. Expected ERA around 3.35. Actual ERA around 2.64. Obviously, ERA going to come down to about 3.3 in my opinion. His Sierra wasn't bad either. It was okay, more closer to 3.6, 3.7. I think his ERA goes up to like 3.4. But that walk rate, if you can get it down from like 8.9 area and get it closer to 7, I think you could definitely see him in that 15 range, or at least before 20, top 20. You could see from Rogers. For Dylan Cease, 9.6% walk percentage, 32% K percentage. Expected ERA of 3.65, actual of 3.91. Same kind of situation. He'll probably be like a 3.5, 3.6 guy this year. But if he got that walk rate down, and the year before it was 13.5%, if he could get it down to like 7 with a 32% strikeout percentage, man, you do some damage with that. But if he can't, and I feel like Cease has had a little more time to show that he is a high walk rate guy, you can't walk a lot of people and be that successful. And you'll see that going forward with the top 15. Anyway, moving on. Max Fried. Here's my take. I think he's just a slightly better Marcus Stroman. But that's also not a bad thing. That's not like me degrading him. I think Stroman's a good pitcher. I think Stroman's a low 2. probably even a mid 2, honestly. He's not a 3, so he's a 2. 17 and 15% strikeout to walk rates, respectively. You know, a 17% strikeout to walk rate ain't gonna cut it. I mean, they both don't strike anybody out, Fried or Stroman. They're ground ball pitchers. They do it with finesse and location, and I don't think that's bad. But it just leaves too much up for chance where they could blow up. You know, shit gets through, and especially with the shifts going back, that can hinder them a little bit. Another guy I want to talk about in this kind of category is Alcantara, Sandy Alcantara. People are really high on him. He could win the Cy Young this year. I hear you. He's a filthy pitcher. I think he's the elite pitcher in this group. I don't think he'll ever be an ace because of that. He has enough stuff to perform better than his K numbers. Like he has some, obviously a very filthy fastball and some decent off-speed pitches, but he doesn't. I'm trying to look up now his strikeout rate because it's not what you would love. We'll put it that way. While this loads, I'll move on because my internet's being slow. Next guy we're going to talk about is Tyler Mahle. Okay, criminally underrated, and I'm still upset he's not on my team. This guy is a 2, a solid 2. I mean, at worst, a low end 2, but I think he's probably closer to a high 2. At worst, a low end 2. At best, probably a high end 2. He'll never be an ace, but underrated. People just don't talk about Tyler. There's not a lot of like solid 2s in the game, and I feel like that's why you're either like trying to be an ace or you're trying to be like a back end rotation guy. But he is as solid as they come. I'm still kind of upset he's not on my team, but I did get Clayton for him, and I haven't mentioned Clayton's name yet, so maybe that's a good sign. But yeah, Sandy's strikeout rate is at 24%. His walk rate is 6, which is phenomenal. He raised his strikeout rate from 23 to 24 and lowered his walk rate from 9 to 6, which is the better of those two stats. ERA at 3.19, expected at 3.47. And I think he'll be a 3.3 ERA guy, you know, with an 17 to 18% strikeout to walk ratio, which is perfectly fine. But you're not going to have, you know, elite stuff getting, you know, you're not going to have elite numbers like that, and you have too much left up for chance when you have strikeout rate under 20%. A strikeout to walk rate under 20%, I just can't. You're leaving too much up for chance. And unless you have a crazy good fielding team, God bless. But that doesn't mean you're a good pitcher. You're just in a good situation, if you're asking me. I'm starting a new team, right? So I don't know who my fielders are. I'm not talking about, you know, maybe his stats might end up being there. But for me, I'm drafting on my team. Not for me. Obviously, that's Alcantara again. Everyone here is rooting for a Ryu bounce back, right? Who doesn't like a chubby age? I don't know if that's okay to say, but I do like Ryu. He's fantabulous. He's certainly not a top 20 pitcher anymore. He really fell off a cliff, and I guess he's getting somewhat older. I think a bounce back could happen, but the underlying numbers don't tell me it will. And I'm a numbers guy at this point, so I can't tell you he's going to. But if he does, maybe he finds out a new way to tunnel his pitches, or a new way to attack with different ratios. That's really what you're hoping for. You're hoping he finds a new spot for the fastball where it doesn't get hit as much, and for a new way to tunnel or mix up his pitches. And he is the kind of guy who I wouldn't be shocked if he did that. We made it to the just miss of the just miss, if you guys are excited. Eduardo Rodriguez, watch out for a good year. Now he's in Detroit, okay? So that's pretty cool. Beautiful pitcher's ballpark over there out in Detroit. It is spacious. So maybe you see a couple more base hits and such, like with Colorado, that big spacious outfield. But the home run ball, which has really been the killer for Eduardo, especially in Boston, is going to go way down. I think that helps him. Also, last year, this guy's probably going to have the biggest difference between year to year, if you're asking me. He raised his K rate to 27.5. He lowered his walk rate to 7. Previous was 25 and 9. And his ERA went to 4.74. His expected was 3.47. Probably the best year of his career last year. He got absolutely shafted by luck. And let me tell you, shit happens. I wouldn't be surprised if Eduardo Rodriguez won the AL Cy Young this year. I'm putting that out there on blast right now. He's my pick for AL Cy Young. That's not like an elite pitcher already. Well, yeah, top 23, folks. Number 23 is Shohei Ohtani. Simply because I ranked him. Otherwise, he would have been in this list. Listen, I think he's going to have a 3.3 ERA this year, 180 strikeouts. Well, timeout. Let's tell you how I qualify these pitchers, right? ERA, strikeouts, and quality starts. Those are the 3 metrics that I go by when I'm saying who do I want this year. When I evaluate innings pitched, and that's kind of in the middle. So innings pitched is always the kicker. Are you going to do it for me for more innings or less innings? At a certain point, quality is better than quantity, and at a certain point, quantity is better than quality, right? It's all kind of a scale. Strikeout to walk ratio is really big for me, which I've mentioned plenty of times. Sierra, which I've mentioned a couple times, and your leadership. You either got a 0, you either got no score, a 1, 2, and I gave some people 3s. I'm not going to go into 4, 5s. I just didn't even rank them. If you're over it, if you're not a leader as a pitcher, then you don't even get a ranking. It doesn't matter. It'll only help you, not hurt you, I guess, in a sense. Ohtani, I do think he's a 1 as far as leadership goes. His Sierra is probably going to be around 3.5 next year. His strikeout to walk rate is lower than you'd think, simply because he walks a shit ton of people. It's only 21%. But the numbers you care about, we'll stick with them right now, right? 3.30 ERA, 180 strikeouts, 15 quality starts, over 150 innings. Ace type stuff, but not the innings for me. Not enough innings. Number 22, Yu Darvish. I think Yu Darvish is the most confusing pitcher ever. I was off him last year because of how high he was going in drafts. People were so high on him after the end of 2019 and 2020, right, where he just went Bucky, top 5 pitcher in the league type stuff. None of the numbers backed it up. And I was off him like you couldn't believe. He has a shit year last year. I looked like a genius. All the numbers backed it up. Not that he was shit, that he was good. Last year, he was better. He had a better year, basically, than his 2019, 2020, which is insane. So now I'm back on because people think he's shit. So God bless you, Darvish. And I don't think he's going to be elite, but he's certainly not going to be, what was it, like 4.5 last year? His ERA? I'll look it up. I mean, he had a rough ski. 4.22. 8-11. 4.22 over 30 games. Yeah, no. I am at 3.4 ERA, 215 strikeouts, and 14 quality starts. Probably the lowest on the list. That's the weird thing. Even in 2019, 2020, when he's having a lot of success, he doesn't get a lot of quality starts. I guess he either doesn't go deep or he doesn't get out with less than 3 runs. I don't know. Quality starts and innings pitched have become one of the most important stats for me, even more than ERA and strikeouts, in my opinion, at a certain point, because pitchers just don't go deep anymore. I think innings pitched and honestly wins are going to start to come back into play as like important stats because pitchers just don't go more than 5 anymore. So if you can pick up a quality start, that is really big for me. Giolito, number 21, 3.45 ERA, 215 strikeouts, 15 quality starts, over 185 innings. He's okay. I mean, I think people are crazy thinking Giolito's top 10 right now. He's just never shown it. I feel like he's shown who he is, and it's perfectly fine. It's a mid 2. He's a 2. Giolito's not an ace. I don't think we'll ever have an ace type year. If he does, it's because he gets lucky and he has good stuff, which can happen. So I'm sure Giolito will have one ace type year because he has good stuff and people eventually gets lucky. His K rate dropped 4% last year, but still his walk rate dropped 2%. Expected ERA of 3.3, actual of 3.5. But that's what he's done. Expected last year of 2020 3.02, actual 3.4. Expected 3.51, actual 3.4. He's a 3.4, 3.5 guy, and there's nothing wrong with that. With decently high strikeout rates, and if you can lower the walk rate, he's fine. I don't see him as an ace. Number 20, guy on my team, Luis Severino. 3.3 ERA, 190 strikeouts, 18 quality starts, over 165 innings. One thing I'll say about Luis, he's also a 2 for leadership. If I didn't say it for somebody, it's because they weren't even ranked. Luis is a workhorse when he's out there. Obviously, he hasn't been there for a while. I hope he can build up to 165 this year. I definitely think that's possible. Aaron Boone said it the other day, he's the most ready starter we have, which is exciting stuff. Every year that he was good, the numbers backed it up. The strikeout rate's lower than you think. It's 23%. He doesn't strike out a crazy amount, but he actually limits the walks more than I thought. So the strikeout to walk rate, if I say strikeout rate, I'm saying strikeout to walk rate at this point, was his strikeout rate, meaning his actual strikeout rate, was lower than I thought, but his walk rate was also lower than I thought. In 2018, 28% strikeout rate, 6% walk rate. 2017, 29% strikeout rate, 6% walk rate. Don't get me wrong, those are both elite metrics. I thought his strikeout might be over 30 because he's crazy, filthy stuff. And I really thought his walk rate would be closer to 9. But he was very controlled. Severino could easily be, we're talking top 5. To me, he is ace stuff. After next year, his Sierras have always backed it up. A 3.25 probably this year. He's always been around 3.3 with that. If he had more innings pitched, and he always has quality starts. In 18 and 19, I think I was trying to say that. He had some of the most quality starts in the league. So I think he could easily be valued. He's probably valued at 20 this year just because he's not getting enough innings. But when he's ready to pitch 200 again, top 10 all day for me. Mike Clevenger is the next guy up, another guy on my team, another guy coming back from injury. I said it before, 165. 2 for leadership, 3.35 ERA, 220 strikeouts, 18 quality starts. Again, another guy who gives really quality starts. He goes deep, and he limits damage. It's not going to be a crazy low ERA guy like 2.8 or 2.7 where he was at before he got injured. But I do think he's an ace. And he's like slated to be the Padres 4 behind Blake Snell, Darvish, and Musgrove, who I think are all worse than Clevenger even this year. I'd rather have him than any of them. I think people are really underrating Mike Clevenger. He's a top 20 pitcher. His strikeout rate is fucking bucky. It's over 30%, close to 34 last time he was in the league. So we'll see. Like, I'm discounting some stuff here because of how good his stuff was. I'm assuming something was lost during the injury, but if he comes back better, he could easily be a top 15 pitcher this year, even in the limited workload. Number 18 is Brandon Woodruff. Okay. I think he's the number 3 pitcher in that rotation. We'll talk about but we're not going to talk about 2 or 1 today. Monday, you'll hear about 2 and 1. There'll be 2 Brewers pitchers that make the top 15. 3.25 ERA, 220 strikeouts, 15 quality starts, over 185 innings. Number 1 for leadership. This guy, I think, is the leader of that team or of that starting rotation, regardless of being the 3rd best pitcher, in my opinion. The one thing he doesn't do is get enough quality starts. I was shocked. He's basically only getting quality starts a third to a half of the time he pitches. In recent years, I gave him 15. I think that's a fair metric, but for the ERA he has and the strikeout rate is okay. It's 24% strikeout to walk rate. You'd expect more quality starts, but hasn't been the case. Number 17 Talked about Gosman. Let's talk about the guy who's kind of matched up with right now, and that's Robbie Ray. 3.5 ERA, 250 strikeouts, 16 quality starts, 195 innings pitched. One thing that I was shocked about, everyone knows about the strikeouts with Robbie Ray, 250. He's going to be the only guy close to 250 in like the next span of a while. He might even, other than like the top 3 or 4 guys, he has 250. It's just him all the way down here. The ERA is going to go back to 3.5. I mean, he got the walk rate down. He absolutely did. He fixed the walk problem. But the Sierra and the expected stats don't expect him to be under 3. I think it's a little bit of an aberration. He got the walk rate down, but let's remember he had like almost over 15% walk rate. Like this was like the worst walk rate in the league guy. He just had crazy swing and miss stuff. I was surprised by the amount of quality starts he had. I thought he would be a guy that's really volatile. Last year he had the second most quality starts in the league. Buehler had 27 out of 33, and Robbie Ray had like 23. So he's a little bit behind, and then there's a bunch of guys at that level. But I'm happily surprised by that. Years before, obviously, were nowhere near that. He was about a third of the time. I basically split the difference and gave him 16. I feel like that's pretty fair. Maybe you think I'm underrating him. Listen, he got the walk rate down to 7%, which is phenomenal, but the expected ERA was 3.60. I don't know if he can do that again. He's got to do it one more time for me to really buy into it. I don't see too much that's changed with his pitching, so I just got to see it. I'm sorry. He's also really prone to giving up the long ball, and I guess now that he's in Seattle, it'll be better for him. Am I underrating Robbie Ray? Let me know. Number 16, I guess the last guy we're going to talk about today, just missing out on the top 15. Philadelphia Phillies got absolutely butt raped last year. Aaron Nola. Talk about Eduardo Rodriguez on drugs here. Okay. 3.25 ERA, 230 strikeouts, 16 quality starts. Again, I was shocked by how little quality starts he has. I'm moving Robbie Ray up to 17 quality starts right now. It's making me uncomfortable. Over 200 innings pitched for Nola, I was saying. The guy was not bad last year. He was pretty much the same as he was every year. The behind the curtains metrics. But it did not seem that way for Aaron Nola. Unfortunately, he ran into bad luck, and bad luck gave him a little shake of the hand. I'm waiting for the stats to start loading. What I will say is I'll go into some other numbers. Again, one of the only guys to be over 200 innings, I think, next year, which is really impressive. 25% strikeout to walk rate, which I think is good. 25 and above is pretty elite. The leadership, I don't have anything there for him, though. I mean, I feel like he's been the ace of that staff. Obviously, with Zach Wheeler now, he's not the ace anymore, but I don't know. His walk rate last year, he lowered it from 8% to 5.2, top 8% in the league. But his strikeout rate also went from 33 to 29, 29.8, so 30 really. Phenomenal. 30% and 5% is phenomenal. I think they kind of strikeout rate probably goes to 6, maybe 7. Walk rate goes to 6 or 7. Strikeout rate probably goes back up closer to 31, if you ask me. So it'd still be 25%. ERA last year, 4.63. Expected ERA, 3.35. ERA last year, 3.28. Expected ERA the year before, 3.35. He had the same expected ERA the last 2 years, and the difference in ERA was 3.28 to 4.63. His fastball locations and other pitch locations didn't really change. His pitch mix really didn't change much. It's just luck, man. It was just real shit luck. Happens. I expect a full bounce back from him. Again, I think Nola's like a really, really high 2/really low 1. I don't think he's a 1-1, a true ace. I don't think he ever has been. I've never seen him in that light. But he's certainly on a 4 or 5. I think he's the 16th best pitcher in baseball, is what I think, for this season. There's probably other pitchers that are better than him. But for this season, Aaron Nola, 16th best pitcher. You're going to find out the top 15 on Monday. Hopefully there are some names that you're wondering, will they make it, or did they just miss the just miss? That's going to, now you're going to have to wait until Monday to find that out. Was there a name that's like you thought was fringe that he probably wouldn't make it? He would have been in the just missed. Did he make the top 15? Or did he not even make the just missed? You'll find out on Monday, folks. Thanks for joining. Hope everyone liked it. We'll see you there.